After this, I'm actually going to head out and go and backtrack these lines and see if we can find who the rest are. I think that's going to be my best and easiest bet. I don't foresee these individuals going very far. They're hunkered down in the shade. They are gorgeous lions, everybody, but we don't know who they are, and that's okay. This need sometimes to identify. I'm just hoping to find them Nkuhumas. It's been ages. It's Johan's last full day here. Himself, Trish, and Paul are out of here in the morning. So I'd really like to show Johan the Nkuhuma pride. So we need to find all of the cubs, all the boys. To be certain. I actually can't imagine how big they are now. And Nkuhuma Pride has got 9 youngsters, 6 boys, everybody. So when you find them and you see them, it's quite noticeable to know what's going on. And I'm sure they've grown a lot. I haven't seen them in a bit of time now. It's been a bit of time. A month, 2 months can really change a lion's body size and shape. No, Jerome, they're definitely not a new pride. They're just not a pride I am able to tell you exactly who it is. So if it's a tortured pride, if it's the Telematis, if it's the Nkuhumas, it could be either one of the 3. But we are in Nkuhuma territory right now. But the Nkuhumas have moved out for a bit now. They've been a little bit more south. Telematis are pushed in a bit. The Telematis have been a little bit this side. The Tortureds from time to time have come in from the west, from the east, but I haven't really seen the Tortureds on this property. But to just have a new pride materializing in the middle of Djuma, I don't think that would happen. And if they were very relaxed, it means that they've come from somewhere where they get to see lots of vehicles. So if it's just a random new pride from the Kruger, I doubt that they would just arrive. And if they did, who knows? Who knows? Okay, well, we're going to move on, see if we can find out who the rest of the pride is. In the meantime, we send you over to Trico and andBeyond Ngala.
All right, welcome back. And also, oh, there's an Impala just running right in front of us. And he decided he's gonna go straight into the bushes. All right, there's a waterhole right in front of us. Remember, I promised earlier on that we're gonna go there and have a look and see what we can find there. It'll be quite interesting to see, because for the last 2 days we've been visiting this waterhole, but there were no like mammals or anything like that. We did see some birds, but I think the reason is because there were lions that were hanging around that waterhole. We're about a few seconds away or a minute away from this waterhole, so fingers crossed we find some interesting animals there. So as I said earlier on as well, we were looking for this lion, so we haven't seen any tracks. The only tracks we had were in that riverbed. So right about this moment, those lions could be anywhere. All right, we're almost at a waterhole. I'm so excited to see what we find here. Welcome, Lola. Glad that you can join us. Are the Birmingham Pride the only pride on Ngala? Lola, no, we do have other prides that come into Ngala. But usually they don't stay quite too long here. They just come in for like maybe a day or two. And then they move out. So they don't stay quite too long. But the Birmingham Pride is that one particular pride that we oftenly or most of the time have here on Ngala. All right, so we're in the waterhole. Just gonna give it a moment just to look around and see what we can find here. Some few birds there, right on the edge of the waterhole. You can see those small ones that you can see there that have black and white color on them, and sort of right on the edge, they're close to the dung. If you can see that, those are blacksmith lapwings, and the bigger ones there, those ones that look like ducks, a bit of like pinkish or reddish legs. Those are Egyptian goose. Looks like some of them are already getting in for a swim, which is quite nice to see that. You can see those goose. Some of them are just busy picking up some food there, feeding on vegetation matter in and around the waterhole. Yes, indeed, it is very relaxing. It's like very therapeutical. And over there, what do we have there? The tiny bird. Just look at it wiggling its tail there, getting busy. Looking for any small invertebrates in the waterhole here. There's a bit of yellow legs there. And a bit of white underneath. And then it took off. And that what you saw there was a wood sandpiper. Looking around here. Look at that blacksmith lapwing chasing all the little birds around, being a bully. Neville, I believe you're asking, why does a sandpiper bob its head when it walks? That's a good question, Neville. So, I mean, I'm not too sure why exactly they do that, but if you look at the sandpipers and, and some species of plovers, they tend to do that a lot as they walk around. So I'm not too sure why exactly they do that. Could be maybe they're just doing it because they can, but I'm not too sure. And right up ahead, there's a dead tree right on the edge of the waterhole. There's a bird right on the top. Quite a very tall bird standing there. With a bit of white on the neck and a yellow beak. And there's a tiny little bear that is flying around. It looks like it's trying to mob it. There is a grey heron and a tiny little black bird, what you were looking at there. I mean the big bird, sorry, that's a grey heron there sitting there. Up, as you can see, the tiny bird busy mopping it. And those drongos tend to do that a lot. But as we're still sitting here and enjoying this, we're going to send you to Mike and Pridelands.
So we've managed to get to Leopard Dam now. We found some elephant dung, and there's also the guinea fowl alarming just behind us here. As you can see, where the dam wall is where the drainage line is. And so I think those leopards are still maybe on the move in the thickets here somewhere. We're not going to stick around here too long because we don't want to be in their way if they do want to come down and drink whilst it's quiet. The elephants have already been here. Now, if I use a little bit of bark here, because this is very fresh and sticky, I open that up. I put my hand in there and I feel that there is still a lot of warmth coming out of this elephant dung. So this is very fresh. We're hearing lots of alarm calling, or rather like elephants making lots of noise. Well, there's a bateleur flying above us making noise as well. There's so much stuff happening around us right now. It's incredible. I think the leopards are in here. The elephants were freaking out just now. So maybe they were seeing or smelling this leopards. And the bateleur, yeah, you can still hear the elephants. And the bateleur flew over just now as well, which often do so. They often fly low over where predators are in the hopes that there's a carcass. But anyway, I'm going to close this dung up now, just so it doesn't lose too much moisture, so that if any dung beetles do want to come here, this is very fresh, there's no beetles here yet, but if anything does want to come and use this dung pile, it'll remain. I don't know if you can hear that. You can hear the guinea fowl alarming. The elephant's not so far away, also alarming. Now, although a leopard is not dangerous to an elephant, elephants don't like to have any predators around them, so they will chase their predators away to keep their youngsters safe. And what we found now is that there was also hyena tracks in the area of those leopards. So hyenas often follow leopards because the chances are they can steal some of the food. If a leopard makes a kill, the hyena can rush in really quickly and steal some of that before the leopard can take it up into a tree. So there's a lot of activity around here. Leo, they do. Leopards often drink here. That's why it's called Leopard Dam, is because when the current owners got this land, I think it was one of their first drives they ever did, they came to the dam and there was a leopard at the waterhole. So they just named it Leopard Dam. We've seen Pixie Pan and her youngsters in this area frequently. And although we don't often see them drinking because they're quite shy, they do often come to the waterhole. You can see there's a little bit of wind picking up now. You can see ripples on the water's edge, but because this waterhole has lots of vegetation around it, it's perfect for animals that are quite secretive, like leopards, to be able to drink without being seen. Now, while we're at Leopard Dam, we'll send you over to Trish, who's also at a waterhole, see what she's got.
Mike, I'm also at the dam. I'm here at Buffelshoek Dam hoping that the elephants will come down. I did see them still motoring through, making their way to this end. But nothing so far. It is very, very peaceful though. I don't see any hippos or there were little grebes here the other day. They're not around, and neither are the Egyptian geese. but it's still a very pleasant few minutes spent at the dam. It's nice and breezy. I like when the weather starts to change from one season to the other and it's noticeable. Sitting at the dam now, I'm feeling it. Chill in the air and this breeze. Well, the geese are not here, but our other very reliable bird friend is. Or friends. I don't think they're enjoying the breeze very much, though. They're all tucked into the grass there. Usually they're all out and about and very lively, very noisy. But I don't think they're enjoying the wind today. These are blacksmith lapwings. It's always a good idea to keep warm my sleep by lying down on your legs. You might have also noticed it with the hyenas, where it's a little bit cooler, then they tuck their legs underneath them. And they lie down like that, just to conserve as much heat as possible. Hi Marge, you'd like to know if there's a reason why they're lined up like that? Nope, there isn't. In fact, they all didn't just sit down. They didn't organize themselves. They were walking around and then the wind picked up and they just sat down where they were. So no reason why they're lined up. It looks a lot straighter from Mpo's angle on the camera than it is in real life. It's a little bit more triangular than all straight in a line. They do make for a pretty picture like this though. It's very relaxed, very, very relaxing here at the dam. When it's breezy and there's water around, it makes me feel like I'm at the beach. Chitwa Dam does that to me too. With blacksmith lapwings instead of seagulls. Birds lose the majority of their heat through their unfeathered legs. Oh, why, thank you. You've warmed up sufficiently and you're now up. I think these lapwings are feeling quite cozy today. I don't think that we're going to see them very energetic. This segment at least. Hi Justine, you'd like to know what is the difference between a lapwing and a plover? I don't know what the technical difference is. I mean, this used to be called a plover. But there must be some difference. A lot of the time these names get changed around on little technical differences, maybe differences in mitochondrial DNA, things like that. So very small differences that we didn't know of before. But I don't know what the technical difference is, because when I started learning about them, when I first heard about a blacksmith lapwing, it was the plover. The same goes for franklins and spurfowls. So I'm not sure what the technical difference is. Some people still call it a plover. In this area, I've just been a little bit quiet because I'm hearing shuffling and I'm hearing Franklins, and there was some that were going a little bit nuts behind us. So maybe we'll get lucky the longer we sit here at the dam.
It's the month of March and WildEarth is offering you the chance to win a brand new prize. Sign up to be a WildEarth Explorer and you could win a 5-day eco-training ranger experience for 2. Eco-training is the pioneer and leader in safari guide and wildlife training in Africa. The lucky winners can look forward to approaching dangerous game on foot, tracking and 4x4 driving, learning about animal behavior, and even spending one night sleeping out under a blanket of stars. In addition, you will also get the exclusive opportunity to join the WildEarth team on the broadcasting vehicle. Sign up to be an explorer now, and it could be you that wins this life-changing experience. Terms and conditions apply. With a slew of potential dangers lurking, it's essential to be aware of your surroundings whilst walking in the wilderness.
20 yards away from one of the most endangered species. This is a big bull.
What a moment, what a close encounter with an early bull. He's just over here now. He's moved completely away.
Being on a bushwalk and seeing a leopard, I mean, it's ridiculous to be this close to a leopard on foot and for him not to run is absolutely insane. How crazy was that?
Through the gap there is just the back of the head of a male lion. He is absolutely unaware that we are here right now. I tell you, seeing lions on foot, it definitely brings out the caveman in you, this little scared human being.
I love being a cam-up for WildEarth. The animals coming right up close to you, especially like lions. Sometimes you get nervous, but you have to go with the flow. My favorite animal to film is the elephant because of how big it is. But when it's really up close to you, it's one animal that you would say, I really respect you.
Welcome back, everybody, and we've come across something rather very small in this particular spot, in this sandy patch that we found over here. Something very interesting that we're looking at here at the moment, just to zoom in on this little creature that is in the ground here. I don't know if you can see this little conical pit that we're looking at here, and this is very, very interesting actually. It looks like there's a lot of leaves, as you can see from these Maremia flowers that's around here, that's been drying out and obviously blowing across this area. And I can see how it's been cleaned out, as this is a fairly fresh conical pit. Now, the guy that stays in here is actually called a Antlion Larvae. And antlions can stay in this larvae form for a super long time. But if I can draw a picture for you on the sand a bit here, and just to give you a bit of an idea what this insect is all about and what is he doing. So let's say this is the top surface. Let me draw a bit of a better picture. This is the top surface, and that's the conical pit, and it makes a V shape like that, and it comes with the top surface. So this is the soil surface basically. Everything below that is underground basically. This is above ground. So this conical pit is obviously what we're looking at here, what this is looking like in this shape. So he uses this conical pit, and this thing has got like very strong mandibles, very, very strong mandibles in front, like sharp claws in front as well. And these antlions, their soft body at the back is made for digging with the back end and so on. They've got little legs, but mostly work around the actual abdomen that shoves their way into the soft sand, and that is what creates this actual conical pit that you can see coming through here. So what happens is that he sits, as I can explain it a bit, he sits just below the surface, right there on that little edge, and then he's tossed a tiny bit of sand just over him. So he sits in the bottom of the pit there, right below. So as you can see by my picture that I've been drawing here, there's a lot of these ants walking around here, and I can see lots of nests of these ants around from the ant harvests that's been coming through here. So these Antlion larvae will be invested in areas basically where you find these harvests as well, but also looking at the soft sandy surfaces, and the ants obviously dictate in looking at the surfaces like this as well. So they're looking at hunting areas like this. So that's why they're called the Antlion larvae. The ant lion, because they hunt on ants. So coming back to our picture over here, as they sit below the surface here, the ant will come and he walks on the surface and he stumbles and falls in. So what then happens is that as he falls into the bottom, there's a lot of loose sand on the edges of this conical pit that you can see here, meaning on the edges there, or on the actual thing that we're seeing here, right there on the edges. So this guy sits at the bottom here. As the ant falls into the pit, he kicks up the sand like that. And then he throws even more loose sand onto the edges, and the ant is battling to get out of this conical pit. And then the actual antlion with the antlion larvae with its mandibles will literally inject into this ant and then pull it down underground. So there's a little channel that goes down here, and it makes like a first room section happening here, if I can put it that way. And in this room, in this chamber, he will literally sit there and suck out the body liquids from this ant and will feed in this room. Then it goes down another channel, further down even, and then it makes another room. So this room down here is basically where he then stores all his carcasses that he's been feeding on, and eventually it's like the dustbin that happens out here. So this is feeding and sleeping. This is storage, and basically the dustbin going all the way down to the bottom, because you can't stay there and your dustbin is up top. So basically that's what happens down there. That's the bin. And so this is hunting, eating, sleeping, storage. In this formation that you're looking at here, you could easily get this insect staying in this larvae formation up to about a good 10 years. Astonishingly, 10 years, thinking about it, how long this process can last. Now let's say all these skeletons and everything in this area, and the carcasses gets obviously dried out in that formation, and it starts smelling and all of that. Then obviously the ants having pheromones that they can pick up from and whatsoever, like knowing about scent, especially finding different nutritions on plants and so on, they would know, and they would pick up on that scent. So they would know to avoid that particular spot, and then they would skip his actual conical pit hunting mechanism. So then he would have to then abandon this entire house, and he will then leave this hunting house formation. And then that's when you sometimes see a little drag mark coming out of the pit, and he goes along the sand all the way across to another spot where he could be using it. You can see this one has been dug out during this week because, like I mentioned earlier on, quite a lot of leaf litter from the humus layer been cleared out there and made quite nicely over there. But also a nice strategy to make it look like it's pretty normal happening here at the spot. It's almost like a horned adder sitting in the soft sand or the dunes, sitting under the surface of the soil, and like a sneaky hunting motion that he's got there. Very, very cool. The crazy thing is 10 years in this process, and molding happens within 1 day into adult. Lucas, you are wondering what color this antlion larvae is actually. Do you see the color of this dead grass blade I have? So that's roughly basically what we're looking at as the color for the antlion larvae that we're seeing. And, we're not seeing it at the moment. We used to actually, when we were kids, small kids, we didn't have iPads and things to play with. So what we did was, as kids growing up on the farm, we used to, so what you do is you go on the edges of this little conical pit, and he thinks it's like an ant actually coming in here. And little do we know that we were actually naughty when we were kids. And then we've learned that we shouldn't do it actually because we're disturbing this little guy. But then once you actually went around on the edges of this guy, of his conical pit, he actually came up to the surface and then you can grab him. So you should actually go onto Google search and do yourself a favor and search this little guy. Unfortunately, I don't have a picture of him at the moment, but you can imagine this nasty looking mandibles in the front and the soft body towards the abdomen made for, it looks like a proper shovel happening. But go search Antlion Larvae. Then you'll get that proper hunting motion, but also looking at this larvae formation and so on. But yeah, mostly when the molting is happening, or the molding, when the molding into an adult shape, he literally then lives for 1 to 1.5 to almost pushing it to 2 days, basically. And onto that 2-day process, it literally just molds, mates, dies. That's pretty much it. 1 day to 2 days maximum. And then the actual, when it's molding, it becomes this massive flying, it's almost like a dragonfly shape. It's got see-through wings and little black dots all over the wings and so on, typically like the lace wings and so on. So this is called the Antlion Larvae versus a antlion when it's molding, basically. But yeah, very cool to see this process and what we're literally looking at here. I mean, this is so interesting when you look at nature's ways of creating balances in that formation. Just so interesting. So yeah, really, really special to understand the deeper ways of nature. We're going to be sending you back over with that to Steve in Djuma.
Welcome back to the west of Djuma. We've just been backtracking, and it doesn't seem like more lions than what we already know of entered Djuma. Definitely one male and minimum of 4 females. We tracked the one male and the female all the way to the west out into Arathusa, and well, we had 3 females before. I thought initially 3, and then I thought 4 because I saw another one, but Johan says that one just moved around and then snuck up on the inside, so only 3 there. But we're going to head back there now, and hopefully we can get an ID. They've come straight from Little Gari, which is to the south of Djuma. So that's kind of the area the Nkuhumas have been hanging out in. Another thing to take into consideration with regards to it being torchwood or telemates is that the female walked straight into Arathusa with the male behind her, and that is not an area that neither the telemates nor the torchwoods go to. So I'm almost certain Nkuhuma Pride. But let's go back and get some pictures, shall we? Nice to do a big loop. I don't think they've got anywhere. And the big loop, we've assessed the tracks, checked the direction. We chatted to some of the guys earlier. They said 2 male lions came in from the south. It's not the case. One is a female. According to the tracks, one is definitely male. And I couldn't find the tracks of 2 males there. But we will we'll track them all the way from where we've got the tracks, Gary, all the way back to where they are, and maybe find some more lions along the way. Donna, yes, they do clash. Invariably, lions do a lot of calling, and they do scent marking, and the calling separates them. The calling is like, oh, I can hear him over there or them over there. I'll just sort of keep this distance. But every now and again, when a kill happens or a feeding cycle happens too close to a contested boundary, you can have confrontation, especially if the prides don't have youngsters. If they have youngsters, they generally try and move away from such a confrontation. But it does happen every now and again, and the youngsters are very susceptible to getting killed. Lionesses defend their territories against other lionesses. Male lions try not to get involved because they're generally serving both prides, 2 or 3 prides. They get involved when other males come in, they fight other males, but they don't generally fight with the females unless they are a new male moving in. Then they can often get, insect in the eye. That can often get quite aggressive with lionesses and vice versa. But lionesses can be extremely aggressive to other females. It can be quite hard to watch, actually, especially if one lioness is on her own. She'll get ganged up upon by 4 or 5 lionesses, and they're brutal. They're absolutely brutal. There's no love lost because they know that that female will kill her cubs if it comes down to it. So they are very, very, very touchy about territory, but we do find territorial transgressions happening, and it's tolerated to a degree as long as those animals aren't just hanging out there for very long, and as long as they aren't eating food there. But if the Nkumas have moved further south, the Telematis sort of move in and then they move back again. There's this constant sort of flux and cycle. We saw it in the Mara with almost very loose territories during the migration, and as the food becomes less abundant, then the territorial boundaries then stick back in place. Okay, well, we're going to head back down, see if we can find those lions again, which I'm sure we will, and we'll send you back over to Juan and Tswalu Kalahari.
Welcome back, everybody, and look what is walking through the Elandsboontjie there. That is just so incredible. We've come across this guy where he was actually resting on the road, and just as we were busy watching it, he got up and active, as there's still quite a lot of nutritional value happening in the grasses at the moment, and meaning that there's a lot of ants and termites, as we just spoke about that Antlion Larvae conical pit that was hunting on the ants in that area. So is the bat-eared fox. So yeah, so cool to have seen that actually on the road. So we're going to try just squeeze our way a tiny bit forward. We didn't want it to go any inch further because we didn't want it to scare it off. But yeah, let's take a bumble slowly forward. Maybe we get another shot there. So let's see what we can get. Man, it's always so special to be seeing bat-eared fox in these dunes, looking for these ants and termites in the exact same spots that you get the aardvark and pangolin at most of the time. Yeah, there we go. Pops out from the bush and about to disappear into the tree thorns. That is so, so incredible. So let's try again, squeeze a bit forward. So, as I've mentioned the other day when we saw that huge family of bat-eared fox, these guys are actually having a huge rather family. Like, you have a lot of pups actually from these little guys coming through sometimes. I see his head popping out there on the edge of the bush. Okay, let's try that. So he was actually resting on the edge of this bush in front of us, but look at that, how he's peeking out from behind the bush. Look at that little face. And that truly looks like a bat we're looking at there. The bat-like face with the cute little ears. I mean, cute little eyes and the big buckets for ears, proper satellite dishes. Their ears are easily, hands down, much bigger than their face. It is just so cool. And if you, especially looking at the different linings in the ears as well, these are all to have strong ultrasonic hearing, basically being able to hear strong insect movement underneath the ground, majority obviously based on ants and termites. This guy is definitely not going to be sticking with us. And obviously we don't want to push him around and obviously scare him off and that sort of thing. But yeah, let's take a drive furthermore down. Maybe we actually get to see the rest of his family through this area. Because the thing is, they have that male and female, and then they have the pups around as well. So the thing is that if we just squeeze a tiny bit forward, we could possibly see the rest of them just coming through. I could hear something happening, so they must be around here in these tree thorns. Timothy, you asking how large can a group of bat-eared fox become? Oh, look at that. So the thing is that you get your typical monogamous pair formation with a male and a female that sticks around in a certain area. And then you'll have like anything between 4 to 5 to 6 pups sometimes happening. The largest group I've seen was about 7 of them together, but it's mother and the father, and then basically all the youngsters together. This guy's not too much in a hurry yet. It almost seemed like he just wants to disappear behind bushes every now and again. But yeah, just look at that. Man, isn't that just the cutest of cute? So, as we've seen that Aardwolf the other afternoon and seeing these guys also fairly active, becoming now, it's truly a situation that it's an indication for us. I have got my sentiment about this that I think we, late in April, with this temperature fluctuation and the temperatures dropping like it is right now, I think late last week in April, we should be starting to see some aardvark, pangolin and aardwolf and things more and more doing daylight like we do generally through winter. Middle May, generally mid-May, and so you generally start seeing more and more of these creatures in daylight and so, but definitely June, July obviously is the perfect times for aardvark and pangolin to be out and about in daylight. But apart from that, seeing all these funny, very cute, rare creatures that the Kalahari has to offer. Very, very cool. Let's take a drive further down. And so we'll keep you updated on more of these little critters. We'll send you back over to Mike in Pridelands.
So as you can see, a nice elephant bull, I think it's a bull, one of the leftovers from the herd that was just here, still drinking at the eastern edge of Leopard Dam, close to the wall. We just had a bit of an interesting experience where we actually sat down not so far from here on a little log overlooking the water. We said we've been walking quite a lot, let's relax. And then these elephants turned up silently as mice. It was amazing. And we had to do a very quick extraction to move out of their way so that they wouldn't be too disturbed by us. They definitely smelt us. The wind is swirling around the dam. But this one elephant on the opposite side of the dam seems not to know that we're here. The wind is blowing nice and strongly from it to us, and we're in the shade, which means with the eyesight of an elephant being quite poor, especially at distance, it's almost impossible for it to see us unless we're moving around a lot. See it drinking there, where they often do at that shallow, sandy beach. Just on the edge there now, it seems to be heading off, following the rest of the herd, where they went a little foot scratch there. But yeah, it was amazing. 2 groups of elephants arrived in quick succession. We sat down on a log, and these elephants just turned up. In fact, Evo, our backup, Niels and I were both sitting, just chatting about the amazing morning, and then Evo just tapped us on the shoulder and said, "Elephants." And we turned around, and they were basically about 10 meters away from us, and we had to very quickly extract ourselves. And then when the elephants had passed, we said, "Okay, let's come and sit down again." And then almost immediately, another group of elephants arrived, and we had to do the same thing. Extract, get on the right side of the wind to get some shade and some cover. And those elephants passed right by us. So that elephant's heading off. And we're probably going to do much the same. It's a bit of a walk for us to get back to HQ. So we're going to probably start leaving Leopard Dam, and in the meantime, send you over to Trish, who's also at her waterhole.
Elephants have finally come down to have a drink, which is awesome. They're quite close to us, or it was a bit difficult to actually get a nice spot because they're all over the place. They surrounded the dam almost completely. There's just some a little bit closer to us too, and there's a small baba. Having a drink, and not even that one, it's a tiny, tiny one. I'm sure it'll move in this direction soon. But we're trying to give them as much space as possible so they can have a drink wherever they like. But have a listen to the sounds. I love the sounds of them drinking. There's even more coming. They're streaming through. I'm so glad we waited. Can you see them streaming through from the back there? Awesome. Gorgeous, gorgeous sounds. That looks like the runway at Prrivate Dam, where they're all coming through. Really, really wonderful. I'm glad we waited to see them have a drink. I'm going to send you over to Tswalu for now and see what they're getting up to.
Welcome back, everybody. And we just couldn't avoid driving past this shot. This is just incredible. Look at that stunning horse-like arid antelope. That is just so stunning. Look at that with the mountain in the backdrop, with the setting, everything comprising up together, and another beautiful oryx walking up to the top of the dune there. Just so incredible, guys. Like, that is stunning. The dune tops, that gives you that early morning silhouettes on the dunes, especially towards the afternoons and so. That is just incredible, seeing that that scenery, that, I want to say, that typical image of the Kalahari, especially in the green Kalahari, with that beautiful green vegetation coming across, with the stunning camel thorn trees on the top of the dune, with the mountains in the backdrop, and that typical environment that gives you that feeling that you are really now in the Kalahari. I mean, that is just so special what we're looking at there right now. So oryx, as we seen that lovely herd of oryx the other day, seeing such a large herd of them as well. This looks like it could be a couple of females that comes through with this males on the top here. And just looking at how they're scouting, look at that. As I was just about to say, they're making use of these dune tops a lot as they feed in the grass plains in these dunes and just scouting over the area. I don't know if you've noticed the other day when we looked at that oryx as well, and looking at this one even, look at the amount of times he was scratching himself with the horns there as well. And down he goes on the other side. So just looking at the amount of times that they make use of those horns, and just looking at it from many different functionalities, looking at the like the horns being scratching just behind the hindquarters. I've seen them scratching around the vertebra as well. It's literally because they, like our fingers, being so, shall I say, so being able to use their horns, being scratching on specific spots and so on, being really, really important tools to them. But also at the same time, having those horns being so sharp as well. Oryx can be actually extremely dangerous antelope, just because they are so accurate of those horns, and they can actually stab other things attacking them, or any bulls actually fighting with each other sometimes for territories or so. I mean, it is just crazy thinking about how they end up after a big fight for a territorial spot, that they sometimes battle against each other. But looking at those horns, I've seen oryx coming badly out of fights with each other, sometimes big wounds and stabs and so on that comes into the flesh. But they've also got extremely tough fur and extremely tough flesh skins, and so they generally do heal after a couple of weeks from that. But you never really see a full-on skin returning, just because that horns are literally like swords stabbing each other. So it's literally like the horse-like arid antelope fighting with his pair of swords. Marco, you are wondering if they're the only antelope species that's got sharp, straight horns. You've got other species of antelope as well, like like that would have that sharp-ish type of straight horns, but does have a bit of a kink to the tip end, like you're talking about the common reedbuck, for instance, or even like you'll find the smaller antelope, like the steenbok. Steenbok has that sharp little straight horns, very sharp straight horns. It's almost like the length of my finger going up, and it basically comes down to that you got super sharp straight horns coming through. But then also looking at the common duiker. Common duiker has also got that sharp straight horns, and all of those guys that's got that super sharp straight horns stretching out in a long length or shorter length, doesn't matter the actual length. It's to do with, it's a pair of spears, knives, swords, anything in that matter. Now, the one day when I've actually followed the pack of dogs in a hunt many times actually before, not just that one day, where I've had some of the older dogs becoming actually older in previous packs of dogs that I've seen in my life. And then they come across this herd of oryx, like I've explained the other day, where the females are hiding these calves in the middle of the herd, and I've seen the dogs and many of them actually coming through on the sides of this herd, trying to take down some of the youngsters. Then you get some of the dogs actually coming in from the side, enticing the oryx to actually chase them, and then it opens up the gap for where other dogs could pull in to actually grab one of the calves. And I've actually seen one of the older dogs attempting that, trying to start that first attempt for enticing these oryx to chase them and to create the gap. And I've actually seen it multiple times where some of the older dogs that's becoming quite a bit older been nearly stabbed to death by oryx just because they are so accurate at those horns. So it's really incredible actually thinking about it, how it is an animal that is so well designed for this environment, actually living so perfectly. And yes, it's a tough life to deal with matters that lives out and about and that comes across in this environment. But they've got the tools, they've got the adequate tools to do so. If we think about that question we had from one of the kids yesterday evening, thinking about lion's paws, and if the lion cub's paws are already hardened. It is crazy how quickly that hardens up, especially after birth. And just because these animals are truly made for this environment. Thinking at it from that point of view, it is just incredible. It is magical. And it doesn't just stop there with the oryx. It goes with an entire big picture, looking at plants in this environment even. Lots of plants, like 80 to 90% of plants in this environment has got lots of sharp, straight thorns and spines and so.
On the 27th of April, WildEarth will be turning 14 years old, and we wouldn't be here if it wasn't for all of you. And to celebrate, we will be finishing the beautiful book that we started last year that looks at the history so far. But we do need you to be part of it. Please submit your most memorable sighting, or what WildEarth means to you, or even just your name and a comment to be included inside the book. Head over to the website to add your name and reserve your copy. We are offering a 20% discount on all books bought before the end of March. And a big thank you to all of you who have contributed to the book so far.
The Mara Triangle is a jewel in the Kenyan conservation crown, and thanks to the dedication of the Mara Conservancy, it thrives as one of Earth's greatest national treasures.
We have been experiencing a reduction in the wire snails that we collect on a monthly basis, and this is basically attributed to our intense patrols.
Over the years, this courageous team of anti-poachers has reduced poaching to almost zero.
Mimi naitwa Stephen Olereso. Nimefanya kazi miaka 16 sasa. Kuanzia miaka 2002. Hao wanadamu ni wenye utua sana inaogofya ni wale wenye wanaenda kama ndovu. Wanatumia kama bunduki. Sasa hiyo ndio huwa inakuanga hatari sana kwa sisi.
As a result of the global pandemic and the massive reduction in tourist revenue, the Mara Triangle is facing a financial crisis. They need your help if they are to continue their ability to protect this magical land.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
So we're actually walking back to the car now quite quickly, everyone, because we've heard that one of the vehicles in the area, one of our students on their practice drive has managed to find one of those leopards that we've been tracking the whole morning. So we're actually going to try and see if we can get there to our vehicle quick enough to show you a glimpse of Pixie Pan's youngster. It sounds like it's the young female, which is fantastic. We haven't had a glimpse of the mother yet. They're on some rocky areas close by to what we call Western Rocky Ridge, sorry. So that's fantastic news. So we're going to try and make our way there as quick as possible. We'll keep you up to date, okay?
Welcome back, everybody. We have come across closer to this dune where we've seen this oryx actually disappeared over to the top. So we're going to just go over a very nice sharp dune here. Maybe get another visual of those oryx again. I can see their tracks coming down the road here as well. But yeah, they have crossed over here. There might be some other animals behind this next dune top. That's the pleasure of driving these dunes. You never really know what you could find on the other side sometimes. Rather sharp decline we've got here. So beautiful. There's so much tracks coming across these dunes that we're having. There they are, those gorgeous oryx that we seeing on the right hand side. They're a bit in a tough spot there. Let's just pull a bit forward. But yeah, and there's a massive ostrich running through in the front across the road as well. You can see those oryx in the side, and that ostrich is about to cross the dune all the way to the front. Look at that speed and the amount of red dust he's actually kicking up there, along with another oryx actually running through on his side. But look at that. So they've got an extremely sharp toe that they actually grip onto the thick sand as well, and that sharp toe is what kicks the sand up into the air. I love it, actually seeing those ostrich running through the red sand of the Kalahari, actually kicking up that red dust that you're seeing coming across. But yeah, very cool. That oryx on the other side, it seems like they have disappeared as well. So yeah, let's continue going down here. It's just incredible. Like I was saying, you drive through these dunes and you come through and you never know what you're going to get unless you have a set of tracks, obviously, that you're busy following to find a specific species or whatsoever. But from just a general game viewing point of view, right there, BK, on the surface, just a general game viewing point of view, look at that little steenbokkie sitting down. Just so gorgeous. Stunning, trying to blend in. We're going to be sending you back over to Steve with some lions.
Welcome back to our lions, everybody. Now, they were up a moment ago. Well, their heads were anyway. These three lionesses have all now gone to cuddle together, which is what lionesses like to do. They like to cuddle. Very affectionate. They definitely ate something. They've eaten something. There was some blood on a couple of the legs. A little bit of ear blood. What they might have caught could have been a warthog. By the tracks on the road as possible. But I think they caught something early in the night, or at least late last night. Right now, they are sleeping. And that's unfortunately the best view we have for you, everybody. The lions sleeping on a Wednesday afternoon. I wonder if they know that we've got a food delivery today. They're not too bothered with that sort of thing. Yes, Tyler. Well, Djuma's just one entity to the Sabi Sands, and none of the lions basically say, "Oh, this is Djuma, we're going to stay here." They move. So they encompass a number of the different properties, and they move through them, depending on the game paths, the food availability, and what they define to be their territory size. So, for example, the Prrivate covers Djuma, Simbambili, Arathusa, Elephant Plains, Hoffman's, Shirley's, parts of Chitwa, and whatever else, I'm not even certain. And then the Tortured Pride overlaps with them, Torchwood into Chitwa, and then they probably do quite a fair bit of Kruger. And the Telematis seem to spend most of their time in Bufosuk and into Manyeleti, coming down into Djuma a little bit at the moment, due to the fact that the Nkuhumas haven't been as present in this area the last little while as they have been before. So no leopard or lion says Djuma's my home and I'm going to stay here. They don't look at it the same way we do. They don't define boundaries the same way we define boundaries. They define them on very different levels. And those boundaries are fluid. They do move slightly. And one of the reasons, as discussed before, that lions call is to avoid seeing each other. They don't want to see each other all the time, because when they do, they're going to have to lay it down. So they do everything they can to defend their territories through audio. And if others do transgress, every now and again they will have to come to blows. But none of them want to fight. The physicality that comes with fighting leads to injury, which can lead to death. So being territorial doesn't mean you want to fight everybody. It just means you want respect of your boundaries. And every now and again, when your boundaries are transgressed, you have to lay it down. But for the most part, these animals, through being territorial, try and avoid it. If they didn't call or scent mark, they'd bump into each other far more regularly, which would lead to more incidences and more damage and danger and threat and injury, which would affect critter free. So obviously it's unfortunate that they are sleeping in the shade, but this afternoon we might follow up on them again. Maybe they'll get moving. But the Treehouse Dam is not too far away. The Hyena Den is very close. Don't worry, everybody. The hyenas have evolved with lions in the landscape, and that's probably why the den was so quiet this morning. When Trish arrived, they all just went, nope, we're going to take the day off and stay in bed. And so we're basically between Tambeta Pan, Chela Pan and Treehouse. So the wind is coming from the north. It's quite a gusty afternoon. It will be a gusty afternoon, it feels like it. This cold front that's pulled through is now going to lead to a few warm days. This kind of wind is evident of that. Okay, well, we're going to stay here with our lions. Hopefully they get up to something. And while we do so, we send you over to Trico.
Hello everybody, so I'm glad that Steve managed to find you some lions there. So on this other side, yeah, it's been a long search for the lions for us here. And we haven't found any more tracks. So I have a feeling they possibly have crossed out of Ngala, they've crossed over our boundary. And also, I mean, they've been here for 3 days or 4 days. And I think also they knew that this is not their territory. They had to move out, because otherwise if they come across the Birmingham Pride, they're going to possibly get injured or even get killed. That's probably why they decided to move out of the property if they have. There's some nice clearings just a few seconds away from where we're going. Normally there, you find some animals that like to congregate in these open clearings, like your impala, sometimes zebra, sometimes blue wildebeests. They tend to love these open areas. So as soon as we turn around, we'll see if maybe we'll find them. Helen, I don't think I do really get your question, but I'm thinking you're asking when the last time we had a coalition. A coalition of lions or a coalition of cheetahs? But I believe a coalition of lions, is that what you're asking? I didn't really copy the last part. Yeah, we do have coalitions here. The Birmingham Pride, the 2 males, the brothers are the dominant males here. And we do see some other lions or other prides that come in and out of this property that, have coalitions. Some have 2, some have 3 coalitions. So I think we see about 6 to 7 prides that have either 2 or 3 males in here. So we see them quite often. There's the impalas right in front of us. As I said, these animals love these particular clearings here. Just gonna go a little bit closer so that we get a better look at them. I think I'm gonna just stop us just right here. And also just looking all around here in these clearings, it looks like most of them are all males. As you can see, they all have horns. I don't see any females around, unless maybe they're hiding behind the bushes there. But this would be a bachelor herd. And so there's a mixture of all the male impalas, some younger, some older. And sometimes you can tell the difference in age by the size of their horns. But also, as I mentioned yesterday, that, next month, there's not going to be any friendships at all. And it's quite interesting going towards the rutting season or winter. The impala's dermal skin tend to thicken. So the front of their face gets thicker. The necks as well get thicker. It almost looks like they went to a gym to prepare for the rutting season, because then they fight a lot for the females. But I guess due to that high testosterone level, it triggers their bodies or their necks to get a little bit thicker. But right now, everybody is very nice to one another, which is nice to see. Good question, Glenn, and I'm glad you can join us. Have I ever seen impalas fighting off a predator or predators? Yes, Glenn, I have. I have seen that, but most of the time, you know, they do not win. But there was this one particular sighting where, you know, there was this impala fighting off a cheetah. And it almost got away, but yeah, the cheetah happened to get an upper hand after that. But there were a few of some, you know, documentaries or documents where you see impalas manage to fight off certain predators and get away and run off. There's the one there. It looks like it's coughing. Maybe it has a bit of a hairball.
Adam, do you copy?
So this particular animals, or these impalas rather, you know, this tends to be their favorite spot here. I think they're only going to move here as the sun gets hotter and hotter because it's starting to actually get warmer. And then get into those shady spots there. But I don't move too far from these clearings. Color it is, a very good looking bachelor head indeed. And they look very nice and healthy, because, you know, obviously we just had those bit of rains, or a lot of rains rather, so the grass is looking nice and green and nutritious. Yeah, they're all looking very well. Looks like most of them have their heads up and staring into that particular direction, staring in the north. I wonder if maybe they've smelled something or they see something. Maybe they've seen some other impalas coming from that other side. Because that stance that you see there, that's what normally they will do when they see a predator. Starts to stare, and as soon as they, you know, are sure that this is actually a predator that we're looking at, then they're going to start to alarm call. But at this point, they haven't alarm called as yet. Oh, now I know what they're looking at. That's one of our trackers. I think he was tracking a leopard earlier on. So they're looking at him coming from the back there. I think we're gonna leave this Impala be and yeah, just continue driving around and see what else we can find. And for now, I'm gonna send you to our other location.
And look at what we've just found. That is just incredible. Can you see those heads peeking through there? That is just incredible. So over the last 2 days, we were also tracking for cheetah that we've been following around the mountains, actually. And as I've mentioned to you earlier on this morning, driving the dune tops early morning is a really good time to scout out for these guys coming through. And so we've just popped over this dune top, and you can see these guys were scouting on this dune top just now, coming through this area. So this is a mother with youngsters coming through here. We will try to approach a bit closer eventually. But yeah, we're gonna just keep them on a good distance for now, just because we don't know how these guys are going to react to the vehicle in the beginning. This might be some of the wilder cheetahs on the reserve as well. But yeah, it's so incredible that we have come across here, and finally we've got stunning cats to show you. Just so gorgeous. We were looking for these cheetah for such a long time, actually. Well, not these specific ones, but this is the first morning we've attempted actually going through to the dune tops a bit, trying to find these guys. Well, stand a good opportunity to maybe find them. We didn't specifically look for them, but yeah. And then as we drove through some of these dunes coming through here, we were thinking, yes, what an opportunity to try do that for now. And as we come across, you can see these youngsters are looking really good. I can't really say the ages yet. Just need to figure out how you can see they are looking at the vehicle, so we might need to work them a bit. And when I'm saying working them a bit, it means that we might need to just slowly but surely progress going closer and forward. Looks like that one is calling a bit. That looks like 3 youngsters coming through here. We'll see just now where the mother is at. She's somewhere around in these bushes and so on. If it is the cubs that I'm thinking it is, it might actually be the youngsters. If you remember last year in winter season, Moritz had quite a lot of times, he had a female cheetah with small cubs, and this might actually be her, that these cubs have grown to this older stages already that you can look at here. And those guys are roughly about 8 months to almost 9 months old now. So, but yeah, if it is that cat, we stole quite a bit on a long distance. But if it is that cat, these cubs should be pretty relaxed with us. Obviously, as you've seen those little babies on screen, it's just you can see they're starting to relax a bit more as they're looking all around. But just stunning to come across these dunes. And we have stumbled across these guys. Like I said, we weren't even tracking, and that doesn't happen often on a large game reserve like this. You always need to find the tracks, track them down and find them through that way. But that is so special. Simon, you are wondering if this is a coalition. It's actually a mother. It's a mother with 3 youngsters. The ones that was on the screen with WildEarth last year quite a bit. Actually, with the small little cubs that was around at least I think that is actually those cubs that we can see there. So we're going to try to approach a tiny bit closer, and we're just going to drop our volume of our voice a bit, just to take it easy. Obviously not to scare off this cat, but I actually do think it might be her. Let's just get a bit closer to get a bit of better confirmation happening. I do have a feeling that it could be that female that Moritz has been following around last year quite a bit. I can see there's an older one walking in the background. Could be the mother walking there. And this might be even another female cheetah with youngsters. There is such a good population of cheetah on the reserve that this might be just another female with small cubs. I actually don't know yet which one this is exactly, but yeah, just so stunning. Guys, I can't tell you how excited I am that we have found these cats finally. I mean, this is just incredible. Yeah, I can see that's the mother walking there for sure. That's her coming across, and young cats. So this is not that female. Those cubs are a bit too old for that age. We're looking at being Moritz's, I want to say Moritz's cubs there. But yeah, no, these cubs are a bit older. This is a mother and 3, a different female, and 3 youngsters walking through. Now, this is actually that female that I was thinking about, that I had about a few days ago in these dunes that we were talking about earlier on. So yes, definitely it's her. You can see the belly is fairly empty, so we are definitely going to stick with her for the rest of the morning. Just so we can stick with them, follow up with them as long as we can. So I guess you can see where we're definitely coming back to this afternoon. The reasoning behind it is that those cats are hungry, and I can see they are missioning. So we're going to follow them around a bit for the morning and just see where we end up with them. So we know obviously where to come back to for this afternoon when we come back to them. And obviously the great possibilities are that we might obviously see a visual hunt happening right in front of us like we did with the dogs. Suri, you are saying that she's a wonderful mom and that she's actually raised her babies very, very well. I definitely agree to you, because the thing is, if cheetah cubs gets to, well, they're not cubs anymore, they're actually youngsters or young adults, sub-adults, if I can call it that way. If they reach an age like this, and cheetahs can get anything, they can even get sometimes 6 cubs, and this actually adds up to the question we had with the lions yesterday. How many cubs can the lioness get? Now, this is a different cat species, as I was mentioning yesterday, that gets up to about 2 to 6 cubs in the litter possibilities. But yeah, most cheetahs actually get roughly around about up to 4 cubs in the litter most of the time. But yeah, you could get sometimes the situation that happens where they get like 3 cubs, like this situation. So yeah, I definitely agree with you. That is fantastic, seeing this female with her youngsters coming across through the gap of the trees there now, looking back at us. Look at that, cresting the dune top. That is just, guys, that is just something to stare at, exactly the same way we did with that lions yesterday, that lioness with the cubs and so on. Just stunning to have come across this at this given point. It's always so special to be with such critically endangered species in an area like this. Just incredible. So we obviously can't crest the dune from here. Just from a conservational point of view, if we crest the dunes, we could actually deform the shape of the dune, and vegetation could die where you're driving on the tops of the dunes, which could change the formation of the dune. The dune could fall apart. So we are stopping on the edge here just to have a good look and just see if we can still see them walking. But I think they are scouting. I can see some animals right across the plains over there on that side. Don't know what it is actually, but yeah, you can see they're doing it again, where they were scouting across the area and yeah, just looking across to see whatever they could hunt on. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to go back to the road and we'll swing around and we'll get to the other side and see if we can catch up on them on that side. But yeah, incredible that we are here with them right now. Like I said, to be with an endangered species and again seeing their numbers going up, that is just fantastic.
So in 1998, we had this idea to go and put a live web camera on a waterhole somewhere in the Sabi sands next to the Kruger National Park. And I approached just about every single landowner and everybody thought I was completely crazy until I met Yuri and Pippa Moorman.
We thought it was definitely a fun idea and a worthwhile thing to experiment.
And it immediately became a runaway success. And it gave people all around the world the opportunity to watch a little piece of Africa, day and night. Back in 1998, it was the very early stages of the internet. And all we were able to do was to get a 30-second refreshing JPEG out of that camera. But over time, what we began to do is focus more and more on trying to develop this concept of giving people the opportunity to go on safari.
Even though we live just 500 meters up this hill, we still put the camera on to see what's happening.
Absolutely, we watch it ourselves.
For all of you WildEarth explorers who bought plaques, today is the day that you will make your very first safari on our vehicle. Because we are quite remote here in the bush, they have taken some time to arrive, but I am happy to say they are here and they look great. Marcel has spent the day attaching them. Let's take a look.
Before we mount these nameplates, we just give a light dusting of green paint. This is to better match them to the color of the vehicles and also to decrease the reflectivity of the metal and thereby staying sensitive towards the animals.
Bumbo crew, hopefully, Dan Black, Liesel Apgar and Alicia George. Well, it's time for me to get ready to take you all on a safari. Let's go.
My name is Taylor McCurdy and I work for Eco Training. I love hearing from all of the viewers. However, I particularly enjoy those of you who have been watching for a few years. Your questions are just so advanced and they really get me thinking. If you'd like to ask a question on WildEarth, you need to register on our website. Once you've done that, head to the live safari page and submit your questions below the live feed.
Welcome back to a windy and warm Djuma, where our 3 lionesses have succumbed to the heat and are all sheltered under the shade of a lovely little bush willow, a raasblaar, large fruited bush willow. It and many of its kind are so important for the survival of many animals in these savanna biomes, with the temperatures that can get to very high in the summer months without shade. Animals would have to evolve very different strategies for survival, because overheating, just like with your vehicle, if your vehicle overheats, it dies, it stops working. So if an animal overheats, same story. So some animals have the ability to have very well adapted abilities to cool down, like the gemsbok, for example, that we don't get here. But the gemsbok have got this very cool sort of nasal passage cooling system. They can allow their body to get above 40 degrees, but their brain cannot get above 39. Above 39, and the brain actually cooks. And so gemsbok, with their very large body, first of all, take a bit of time to warm up. But they've got this very nice, intricate sort of air conditioning system in their nasal passages, whereby where the air comes in through the nostrils, it's a little bit cooler than the air or the blood. And the sort of veins, or you say the tubes coming in from the nostrils, interwoven with the network of capillaries going up to the brain, work like a cooling system. They divide up into very, very, very small little filament arteries and ventricles that move past the brain and cool that blood going to the brain, only slightly, enough for it to not cook the brain. So an in-breath leads to cooling. Just like your radiator would if you're driving on the motorway, the wind blowing over your radiator cools a very warm engine down. Without that wind blowing through the engine of the car would explode. So very, very important to have adaptations like that. But gemsbok are unique in that environment, unique in that ability to survive. And you'll often find them in the late afternoon standing on the dunes, allowing the wind to blow across their warm bodies to help cool them as well. Seeing as the nasal passages have cooled the brain slightly, they still want to cool the body off because, well, it's quite uncomfortable being above 40 degrees Celsius as a body temperature. And so animals that survive in the deserts have to be extremely well adapted to do so. Or you just go and find yourself some shade, like these lions have done. Lack of shade, though, is a limiting factor for many animals. We've reversed back slightly as well, because otherwise we would be cooking. Jerome, I think all animals are different, but I think talking about it there, gemsbok can't, I don't think any animal can get their brain above 39 degrees. I think the water sort of, the liquid in that fluid starts to cook, and that slows down or breaks down proteins. I'm not really sure, but above 39, I think many animals will struggle. But some animals can have higher body temperatures, but I don't think that their brain can get hot like that. But I don't really know. I think each animal's different. The larger the animal, the slower they warm up, and the slower they cool down as well. Small animals have the issue of heating up too quickly and then cooling down too quickly. That's why many of the small animals you see are quite furry, so as to regulate that temperature, and then they're also very, very nocturnal. So many of the desert-dwelling animals, small mammals, are all nocturnal, so that they can maintain their temperatures by running around and warming up in the cool, and in the heat they shelter themselves away underground, in nests and burrows, anywhere where they can keep away from the excessive heat. But birds, of course, have a different threshold to mammals, and vice versa. I don't really know the exact numbers, but 40 degrees is very, very hot. 40 degrees is what, 80, 110, 115 Fahrenheit, perhaps somewhere around there. I might be off a few degrees. It's very hot, very, very warm. Body function gets quite lethargic, and it's dehydration that is the biggest concern. Okay, everyone. Well, we are going to keep ourselves well hydrated. We're going to be heading home soon for some lovely breakfast, and we do thank you all for your questions and comments this afternoon. Have a blessed day further. We'll be seeing you all again live this afternoon from all of our wonderful locations. We do thank you again for the questions, comments, and input this morning. We'll see you later today. Have a blessed Wednesday further. Until then, good day and goodbye.